I'm George. We've come to the north of Italy to test out two brand new products from Canon. We have the EOS C50 and we also have a brand new 85mm f1.4 L lens. Let's see what they're all about. When it comes to the key specs of the C50, for me, it's the 32 megapixel brand new sensor, which is RF mount full frame. It's the EOS ITR AFX brand new processor that comes with it. And of course, that lovely form factor, seeing that box camera design with so many different buttons for different functionalities. So let's dig deep into the video recording modes of this camera. And I'm going to firstly caveat this section with the fact that everything I'm about to tell you is purely internal. You do not need an external recorder like I have on the top of my camera for any of these functions, which I think is super. When it comes to the video wrappers, you are able to shoot in RAW and C-RAW, but then you're also able to shoot in XAVCS, XAVC and XHEVCS. Let's start with the highest resolution that it can shoot in, which is a whopping 7K. And it can actually shoot that 7K up to 60p in RAW or C-RAW, so that's 12-bit for your color depth. Now, this is excellent because, of course, the fact that it can shoot 7K, most people, I think, are still delivering their projects in 4K, but it, of course, means that you can crop into your image without losing any quality. If you're not so worried about the ability to shoot slow-mo, but still want that 7K resolution, then you can shoot 7K up to 30p in open gate, which, of course, gives you that 3:2 aspect ratio, making it much more appropriate for then repurposing your shots into vertical and then not having to worry so much about the sort of duality that we're often facing these days with filming for landscape and vertical without sacrificing too much of your frame. That open gate I just told you about is only available in RAW SQ rather than RAW HQ. But to be honest, when a camera manufacturer is offering me 7K open gate in RAW, I'm not going to be so bothered that it's not RAW HQ. Now, I do think the average user of this camera will probably be using 4K footage more often on a daily basis than the other modes, and this camera doesn't disappoint in that matter either. It has 4K up to 120p, so that's roughly 4 times slow motion. And that can be shot in 12-bit RAW, but it can also be shot in 10-bit if you just want some of the other video wrappers and you don't need all of that data. You can also shoot in 2K up to 180p. When it comes to aspect ratios that this camera can produce, obviously I've already mentioned that you can shoot 3:2, and then of course you can shoot your standard 16:9, but every single mode also is able to be shot in 17:9. So if you want that DCI slightly wider look, then this camera can achieve that for you. You can also dual record your media. So if you're interested in having a safe backup, it's nice that you can record 2 cards at once. And Canon have also given this camera a feature where essentially, because it has all of these amazing open gate capabilities, you can basically record landscape and vertical at the same time. So what it will do is it will shoot the vertical stuff and it will put it on one card that you designate, and then all of the landscape stuff will go onto a different card. Therefore, it means that I could give a card to the editor that's doing social stuff, and then they could know that that's all immediately in the vertical format, and then whoever's editing the YouTube video could take the landscape one and do with it what they wish. So one thing that I'd like to talk to you about is the dynamic range that this camera can shoot. And you get 15+ stops of dynamic range when shooting in their log profiles, which of course is excellent for contrasty environments. We've been shooting in tons of harsh sunlight over the course of this video, so probably 90% of my shots are a good test for that. But what I thought was quite curious is that when you're in Super 35 mode, or you've got that crop factor, the dynamic range actually goes up to 16 stops. And I'm not going to lie to you guys, I don't actually know exactly why. So pop it in the comments if you think you might know the reason for that. So, we're in Venice, and I'm here to tell you all about the autofocus system on this lovely gondola. Now, it has dual pixel CMOS AF2, very similar to the autofocus performance that we've been seeing in many of the recent Canon cameras, which is music to my ears because it's excellent. You have a variety of parameters that you can control, so you can influence the subject sensitivity, you can influence how quickly that autofocus will actually rack focus. And you also have a level of touch control, so you can touch track or just touch to set focus. I actually really love this. It's really convenient just to be able to know that I can just tap that section of the screen and it will always hit its mark. But one thing which actually isn't really so much of a spec, but something that Canon have been doing for a while with their cameras is even when shooting in manual focus, it shows you the subject detection. So essentially, if I'm shooting in manual focus, but then perhaps there's like a person that's in sort of obviously in the frame, then it will put their box around their face so that I know that if I was to switch from manual focus to autofocus, it would immediately go for that person's face, essentially telling me before it does what it's going to do. This is so mad. Just everything's so beautiful, It's like, I just want to shoot everything, just the reflections of the water. The color of the water is amazing. It perfectly contrasts the sort of yellow pastel colors of the buildings. It's a really special place, Venice. Come. I just love using shutter angle. Honestly, it seems like such a small thing, but the fact that you can seamlessly switch your frame rates without having to worry about your motion blur, amazing. So I'd just like to take a moment to speak about what I thought would probably be a bit of an elephant in the room with this camera, and that's the fact that there is no IBIS system. So there's nothing inside the camera that's going to stabilize your footage for you, nothing physical. Anyway, they do have digital IS, and that's what I've been really impressed by. I've been using it as I've been wandering around. We're in Venice, it's really busy, it's kind of awkward to be using tripods and stuff, so I have been leaning into the handheld usage. And on my 35mm, it's been stabilizing my footage exactly like an IBIS system would, so I'm really pleased. Case in point, this is an 85mm lens, and I'm just using digital IS. You can see the shot now, it's pretty stable. So I think one of the real strengths of Canon systems, and that's as true of this camera as many of the bodies that have come out recently, is their color science. The way that they render those skin tones, those greens, those reds, it's so naturally beautiful and requires minimal post work. That is, of course, even more so if you're going to shoot in Canon's log formats like C-Log2 or C-Log3, which with the high bit depth modes that this camera can produce, of course, is going to give you a ton of flexibility. But you can also shoot in a more baked in standard sort of Rec 709-esque color space if you just want that straight for delivery immediately. So why do you think we come to Venice? Well, do you think it's a coincidence that Canon is 2 letters away from canal? I'm so sorry, YouTube. So let's talk about the form factor of the C50. And firstly, you'll immediately notice it's a pretty boxy design. That's excellent because it means that it's easily mountable on things. It also has 4 1/4-inch screw mounts, so if you need to screw it in somewhere or screw something to the body, you can do so without a cage, but there also are cages that are going to be available upon launch. There are 14 assignable buttons, which you can use as standard, which has written above them, or you can also assign them yourself if you don't want to use them that way. There's a 3-inch LCD, pretty standard size, pretty standard brightness, but that's all I need. It's been ample today, although admittedly, I also always use an external monitor, as I think do many people that will be buying this sort of camera. It takes the LP E6P battery, which is the same as cameras such as the R5 Mark II. So if you own any of Canon's other cameras, do take a look because your batteries may well be compatible. It has a very large internal fan, which is one of the reasons it can record for such long periods of time. I will say it's a little bit noisy sometimes. I have been able to hear it. I don't think it's a big issue. I don't think it's going to come through on like loads of microphones, even if you're running an on-top mic, but I do just want to flag that. But that also means it's doing a pretty good job of keeping the camera cool. In terms of your media, you have 2 slots for media. One takes CF Express Type B, and one takes standard SD, that's UHS 2. Now, I really like that because it means that if you want to use some more premium media, so for me, I've got the CF Express Type B from Delkin because I think they make some really good, very cost-friendly cards. But of course, you can also use SD cards like UHS 2s that you may already own from other camera systems. The total weight of this unit is 670 grams, which I was really surprised by how light this rig is. Actually, it looks a lot heavier than it is, but wandering around Venice and the Dolomites hasn't been an issue for me at all. If anything, I actually would maybe rather it's a tiny bit heavier just because I like heavy rigs for handheld shooting, but that really is just preference. But there's one more thing that comes in the package, and it is this. It is their top handle, which of course is excellent for handheld shooting. I'm gonna probably struggle to screw it on while talking to you guys, but I'll give it a go. And some of the features that this offers, apart from obviously just the ability to shoot handheld much more easily, is when it comes to audio, because it means that you can get up to 4 channels of audio, and it has 2 full-size XLR ports, which will deliver a total of 24-bit audio. It also has a little one of those mic attachments. I just took it off earlier because I'm not really using a microphone for this video and it was just getting in the way of my external monitor. Of course, you can also monitor your audio using all of these standard dials, which just gives you way more audio control and also significantly quicker if you need to be changing the gain on the fly. You may also notice that there are 4 screw mounts on the front here, and they're actually for Canon's PL mount adapter, meaning that you can use PL glass, but naturally sometimes PL glass can be really heavy and it can put a lot of stress on the actual lens mount. So these screws mean that you can screw it in, ensuring that there's not going to be any wobble, but also that you're not going to damage your mount itself. I've already told you about the form factor of the C50, but let me tell you a little bit about its inputs and outputs. So you can see I've been making great use of the HDMI port here. You also have a mic jack and a headphone jack. They're both standard 3.5mm AUX. You have a remote trigger so that if your camera's sort of rigged up in some weird and wonderful place, then you can still easily hit record. And we have a USB-C, which can be used for charging the camera, which is excellent. And probably most importantly is a time code feature, meaning that you can therefore easily shoot on multicam sets and not have to faff around with any of that audio sync. That's really important because it means that actually this camera therefore is scalable to be working on much larger productions than the production we're working on today, for example, television. I also have another brand new product here, which is the Canon 85mm f1.4, and it's part of the hybrid prime lens series, so it completes the set of 5. One of the things that makes them a set is the fact that they all have a very similar weight and weight distribution, so they're quite well geared for video use. It also has an aperture ring, a dedicated focus ring, and the control ring that you can then set to do many different parameters, and it has a custom button on the lens as well. I found the autofocus performance to be really good. I also think the fact that, of course, it shoots all the way down to f1.4 is brilliant for low light environments, or if you just want that shallow depth of field look. It has an 11-bladed aperture, which creates excellent optical performance, as much as Canon have told me, and I have actually found that to be true while I've been shooting with them. We've been shooting in the dark in Venice in a lower lit environment to test out the low light performance of the C50. And I've been pretty impressed. You know, I mean, it's not one of the best low light cameras I've ever used, but the fact that it is a 32 megapixel sensor just kind of goes along with that, because of course, the more megapixels, generally speaking, the more noise you're going to see in your image. You wouldn't be able to have all of those amazing 7K resolutions if there wasn't so much megapixel in the sensor. In terms of the actual base ISOs that you can work with on this camera, it's got a dual base ISO when you're shooting in log. The lower limit is 800 and the upper limit is 6400. In an ideal world, that would have been a little bit higher. Perhaps it would have been 12,800, a little bit more in line with some of their other cine cameras, but I really don't think it's the end of the world, and I'm lucky enough that I've been using these amazing Canon primes which shoot down to f1.4, so of course the lens is doing so much legwork for me. Unfortunately, our time in Italy has come to a close, but I've had an excellent time testing out the C50 and telling you guys all about it. And I just want to give my final thoughts on this camera. I mean, ultimately, I'm extremely impressed. All of the video recording modes are pretty outrageous. The resolutions you can get, the ability to shoot in a variety of open gate options, the fact that you can also have so much control with RAW, but then you also don't need to have that RAW workflow if you don't want to. It's ticking a lot of boxes for me. Of course, the RF mount is amazing, and it's been nice to test this brand new 85 with it as well, because that's performed really well. Personally, my two favorite ever focal lengths are 35mm and 85mm. So when I heard that I was going to be able to bring this, I was really excited, and it's not disappointed at all. Who do I think these products are going to be best suited towards? Well, the 85, I think it's a hybrid shooter. It doesn't really matter if you're stills or video. It is slightly more of a stills lens than a video lens, but it's excelled in both for me so far. So pretty much anybody that just wants a nice fast 85 prime on the RF mount, definitely take a look at this. When it comes to this lovely cinema body, I think it's pretty clear it's targeted at solo shooters, people that have been filming in the way that we've been filming over the course of this video, because it's really well designed for a singular operator. As I said, my one main concern with this camera was the lack of IBIS, and I've not found it to be an issue. I've shot handheld for probably like 70% of this video, and I'm happy with how the shots have come out. The other main use for this camera, I think, is perhaps for a production company that are already running some of the slightly more premium Canon bodies, namely the C80 and the C400. Because this is going to color match, but it's just a bit smaller, a bit cheaper, it means that if you need a B cam for your A cam, or you need an alternate camera rig to something like a C400 that's just a lot more portable, the C50 is kind of filling that gap, if you ask me. If anybody wants to know more information about this camera, of course, you can check the Codecs website, but also pop a comment down below and I'll get back to you, or Sam, the guy shooting this video, will get back to you, because we've both been brushing up all about this camera and we've had a lot of fun testing it. So I'm not just done talking about it. So yeah, get involved, let me know what you think, and we'll all have a chat. Otherwise, have a lovely day, and I'll see you next time.